Oh, Deadpool, it's worth it. And
Uh,
it's this dropped quickly in price. I was kind of sad about that, and that's the reason I picked it up for so cheap. So it's a good and bad thing, but I don't know. I think it's kind of a niche market there. You have this game. It's a comic book game, and he's kind of humorous and childlike in his appearance and his talk. So it's for kids. You can't see me, but I have air quotes right now. But at the same time, he's throwing f bombs left and right. So it's kind of a it's a weird. Deadpool's a weird character. He has jokes about chimichangas and just very fart humor. Like it's dick and fart jokes, and
right.
he actually says and fart a lot. So it's one of those things where it's like a South Park kind of humor. I mean, it's very very crude humor, but it's not very refined. Does that make sense? I mean,
Yeah.
you yourself the Deadpool character well.
Oh yeah. I mean the Deadpool's from a couple of years ago, especially, are
Yeah,
just
right,
fantastic comic reads for an adult, not for kids,
right,
obviously. Let me
right.
ask you something though,
Yeah,
because you
yeah,
mentioned the Deadpool cosplay that we see at conventions. What do you think the
right.
mental state of a Deadpool cosplayer is?
I think they are, and I think well, here's what I think. Honestly, I think they, especially the Deadpool cosplayers, I believe they are pretty maybe in their mind kind of frantic, but I think in their public lives, oh, pardon me, they seem very they seem very normal, quiet, subdued, but they want to have that loud voice, and therefore when they put the Deadpool mask and suit on, they can do just that. And they're saying exactly what they want to say. They always say people when they're drunk are 100% their real selves. I
Yeah,
think that's what happens with the Deadpool costume. These people become their real selves. They want to do without the mask on because
yeah.
it is kind of liberating. I mean, coming from a guy who's cosplayed a few times with just like a morph suit on, I've been tempted many times to do crazy stuff. But if I were in the Deadpool costume where that was acceptable, I would totally be just a jackass at all times. So I kind of it gets annoying and stupid and stuff, but I really see and feel the appeal.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree.
Yeah, yeah,
Obviously, we can't say
yeah.
every Deadpool cosplayer is like that, but
Right, right.
but you do
Yeah, and I
see.
mean,
Yeah,
sticking with the character, the
yeah,
Deadpool character isn't, he's not a solemn, sweet, nice guy that walks around opening doors for people.
yeah,
He's a dick,
yeah.
and that's what's cool,
A lot of
So
Deadpool
yeah,
photo bombs at conventions. A lot.
right, yeah,
Yeah,
right, yeah, as it should be. Deadpool, if he were at a convention, he would photobomb.
that's
I
true.
mean, it's just
It's true.
that's sticking with the character.
Yeah,
Hate it if you want, but that's sticking with the character.
yeah. You're
But
absolutely
yeah,
right.
kind of as you can probably see here, some kind of God of War, some kind of Devil May Cry, kind of like I said, hack and slash combos, button mashing kind of gameplay to it, stuff like that. Upgrading your weapons and your feats and abilities. Pretty cool game though. I mean, as far as Deadpool goes, that's the best we can get. And there may be a movie tie into the game whenever that comes out, voiced by Ryan Reynolds. If they're smart, they'll do that. So we'll see. We'll see what
I hope
happens.
they do that.
Up next, that'd be awesome, wouldn't it? Up next on the list, we do have a game that you and I both love quite a bit, and we went to a midnight release of this game. If you remember correctly, we both won some prizes for a drawing from it. It was kind of a combination of two of our favorite things. You and I are both big fans of fighting games, uh, Mortal Kombat to be specific, and we're big fans. You more so than I am, but we're both big fans of the DC universe. You combine both of those things, and not the first one they had. They did have Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe a few years ago, but finally, just a few short, I think 2 years ago now, Injustice: Gods Among Us come out. It came out for the PS3, the Xbox 360, and I believe maybe a PC port as well. Created by NetherRealm, of course, Ed Boon and his team over there that did start the whole Mortal Kombat craze using the Mortal Kombat engine with your DC characters. Just fantastic. A great story itself based off of the comics that kind of went along the release of the video game. Do you remember when that comic came out? We read issue one, how mind blown we were when that came out,
I was
JP. Do
I
you remember
was
that?
I was
The
amazed with
comic
that
itself.
comic, to be honest with you.
It was insane, and I believe to this day it's still going on, still continued, still kind of a continuation of that story. So that's kind of cool. Sadly, I didn't keep up with it, but if you haven't had a chance to check out, of course, check out the game here, of course, Injustice. But if you see that comic, especially issue one of Injustice: Gods Among Us, watch that or just read that comic. It is maybe, at least for me, and I'm not well versed as you are in the DC universe, but one of my favorite DC stories I've ever seen. It's awesome.
Well, basically, it's what happens if Superman gets pushed so far that everyone's fear of Superman actually happens.
Right.
And it's basically that story. And he does. And, you know, I'm not going to spoil anything because I do want you to read that comic book. But, you know, You got to think, what villain in the DC universe could push Superman over the edge? It's not Lex
Right.
Luthor.
Yeah, it's not what I expected.
Yeah.
It's not what you expect at all.
Who do you like to play with in this game?
I started off as a Shazam guy just because I like the character the most, but his play style is reminiscent of kind of a Raiden character from Mortal
Right.
Kombat. Because if you notice, all these characters here, kind of, even though it's not a Mortal Kombat game, to me at least, each one of these characters have a play style very reminiscent of a Mortal Kombat character. And so to me, Shazam was very Raiden-like, which he's not my favorite guy to play with. After a while, I really liked Aquaman. Actually, Aquaman was kind of my go-to guy.
Yeah, I like Aquaman too.
What
And
about you? Who did you play with?
I like Aquaman. I do
Yeah, it's
like
pretty
Green
awesome.
Arrow and
Right.
Solomon Grundy. I like to play
And
with Solomon Grundy.
Green Lantern, I like Lantern quite a bit
Oh
too.
yeah, because you can do the cool stuff with the
Yeah,
rings. Yeah,
right. Sinestro was good. Yeah,
but I like Solomon Grundy's tombstone move in this game.
right. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was pretty good. Yeah,
yeah,
Batman was all right. Kind of bland for me though. Kind of Sub-Zero-y, which is fine. That's kind of what they're
yeah.
going for.
I
But
didn't play
yeah,
with
Super.
Batman or Superman a lot. To be honest with you, I probably played with Wonder
No,
Woman
no.
more than Batman or Superman. And that's
Really.
not.
Yeah.
I'm not lying. Oh, and of course,
And
the
they had a lot of
Joker
cool
and
things.
Harley are fun to play with.
Right, and well, it's of course we're playing a video game, and of course we're playing a video game based on a comic book, so our minds are meant to be stretched and kind of suspend, reality for a little bit. But when you see stuff like Harley Quinn taking a punch square on the jaw from Superman, I'm kind of like, really?
Yeah,
But it's gotta, I mean, when someone I think believes Superman's special power, one of those is to knock them into space, and he'll knock them straight down into the earth, and it's Harley Quinn. Of course, that would just demolish her every bone in her body. But whatever, it's
that's
got to
true.
happen for the game. But seeing stuff like that kind of almost takes you out of it. But like I said, we are playing a game based on a comic book, so just have some fun with it.
Right, and the cosmic
A lot of stuff
treadmills in
is
this game
actual.
with the Flash.
Exact. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. There's a lot of. Yeah, it's true.
there's a
Yeah,
lot of
Flash was
comic
great.
references. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. It's just fun just to watch the gameplay again. Many times at conventions, or a few times, we've had this game set up where we have tournaments. I believe Doomsday versus Superman on the hardest difficulty. You had to beat Doomsday as Superman, and of course, I believe Batman versus Joker on the difficulty as well. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. There's some more
Was
thing I was
lined
going
up
to say,
for.
but the voice acting. Who's the voice of Harley in this game?
Oh, who was that? I really
Tara
forgot
Strong.
who that was. I knew yeah, that's who it was. It was Tara Strong. Yeah,
Yeah.
from My Little Pony and everything else fame.
Right. And she was a great Harley.
Yeah. Hmm.
And I want to say, um, oh, the voice of Joker was his name escapes me right now, but really famous voice
Not
actor
sure who that one was.
was the voice of Joker in this game as
Right.
well. Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
But yeah, I love this game.
That's a great one. I can watch the whole. Yeah, for sure. So we have that. We've kind of delved into the Marvel side and the DC side. We've kind of covered both of those. We will do more in the near future here, but let's go off into the kind of the almost indie market for a bit, shall we?
Okay.
And so in the '80s, in the late '80s, and the early '90s, I was a huge, huge, huge Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan. I believe everyone my age was, and everyone my age also, and people above and below my age had a Nintendo Entertainment System. So for that on the NES, there was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game, just called that, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for the NES, and it is it's that one was bad. We'll talk about that in a bit. But first, we are on the best list. I almost got us confused for a bit there. The best list. There was a game around the same time that came out on the arcade called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Turtles in Time, and that is once again made by Konami and one of those side-scrolling beat 'em ups for the arcade. It's a fantastic arcade game, a sequel to the Ninja Turtles arcade game that came out right before that. But Turtles in Time is one of the best, if not the best, arcade beat 'em up of all time, if you ask me. Just a few short weeks ago, we were at MomoCon in Atlanta, Georgia, and we saw in the arcade room set up by the Southern Fried Game Room Expo, they had a Turtles in Time cabinet set up there. Hopefully, I'll see that again in 2 weeks when I go to the Game Room Expo.
I
Did you ever
think
play
so.
Turtles in Time at all?
I played it last
Yeah.
weekend, as a matter of fact.
Oh, you did. That's true. You did.
Yeah.
Like I said, they had the precursor was the TMNT arcade game, and that was fantastic as well. But something about Turtles in Time when you actually kind of you twist the story around and time travel, man. The Ninja Turtles time traveling. Who doesn't like that?
From
You can't beat that.
swashbuckling
Konami.
pirates to
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Konami. I mean, Konami was on top of the game back then. They were just best of the best, cream of the crop. What happened to Konami?
and the art on this game is pretty cool too. The animation.
Right, it's very yeah, it's very. I mean, this is like in the heyday of the actual cartoons. This is kind of sticking with that there. So, and all the gameplay was balanced, almost like I spoiled for us earlier on. But we'll talk about later on some of the worst games, of course, coming up soon here. And there was a Turtles game on that is clearly unbalanced. And this one here is really good. Every playable character is good, no matter if you're playing with three of your friends. And one guy was stuck with Michelangelo, even though everyone liked Michelangelo. It's kind of known in games his weapons aren't the best because they're kind of short range. But in this game, they're pretty awesome. He was kind of agile, had some great aerial moves. It's pretty cool stuff. And of course, you have your bosses, your Tuck and Razor from the movies,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sure they'll start blinking once their health goes down.
I'm sure they will.
Speaking of this, did you see in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 casting where they have cast I forgot if it's Bebop or Rocksteady, but before he transforms into that character, it's going to be Sheamus from the WWE. That's what
I
they
did
cast.
see that,
Yeah.
but we don't know if it's Bebop or Rocksteady, right?
Right, right. And these characters here, Tuck and Razor from Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze, they're basically representations of Bebop and Rocksteady because for some reason they couldn't get the rights to those two characters from the Image Comics. Isn't that weird? Or IDW.
Secret
Strange.
of the Ooze, is that the one with Vanilla Ice in
Yeah.
it?
Yes, at the very end with Kevin Nash as Super Shredder.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Big Daddy Cool.
Right. But as you can see here, it's just awesome. I mean, look, don't you love? I wonder if Konami perfected this. Did they create this or perfect this? The idea of the flashing end of stage boss battle. It's fantastic.
I don't know. It certainly
It was
seems like they did.
it's almost iconic. Like like it really for someone who'd never ever seen a video game before, this would make zero sense seeing that of these bosses at the end of there flashing. But for someone who grew up in this time and played these games, you know exactly what's going on. If they start flashing, like, oh yeah, he's almost done.
He's
It's
almost
time.
dead. Well, you know
It's
that
the
makes
battle of
more
wounded.
sense than I actually would rather have that than like a health meter.
Right? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's true. It's almost it adds some mystery to it. It's kind of cool.
because you can't miss the
Yeah.
flashing.
Right, right. You can't miss that.
Yeah.
So that is Turtles in Time by Konami in the early '90s arcade era. A lot of great side-scrolling beat 'em ups and comic books. Well, like I said, once again, those side-scrolling beat 'em up brawlers were just meant for the comic book game. I'm not sure why that is, but it works, doesn't it? Do you think
It
those
really
will ever make a
does.
comeback? Those side-scrolling beat 'em ups. I
Well, I
know the
think
arcade scene some say is dead forever, but as far as console games, I think with better graphics, a little more 3D effects, a great soundtrack, and some good voice acting, and a great story to it, I think these side-scrolling beat 'em ups can come back any day now, right? I mean, it's time.
well, you have a lot of homebrew with side-scrolling
Yeah,
stuff today too.
right.
So there's definitely
It's
still an
true.
audience for it.
That's true for sure. Um, we're not at the end of the best list yet, but we're getting close to it, and so I'm going to break out some of my favorites here. You ready for this?
All right.
If you know anything about me at all, you know who my favorite comic character is, and he has a few games. You know, some we'll talk about later on to give you a hint, but some we'll talk about right now. He's had some good and some bad. Let's talk about the good first off. And my favorite character in the comics of all time is the Incredible Hulk, and so he had a game called Incredible Hulk: Ultimate Destruction that came out on the Xbox and the PS2 a few short years ago, and this is the ultimate Hulk experience. I've talked to you before about this game, JP, and you've kind of been, amused by how much I get into it because it's a fantastic game. And we even talked to Josh from Collection Connection on the way to MomoCon 2 weeks ago, and we asked him if he'd heard of this game, and he spins around in his chair, gets all excited, and kind of, it gets in the same level as me, the same level of excitement as I have for Hulk Ultimate Destruction. It's, I mean, really, there are full skyscrapers, full buildings. You can level. Everything's destructible. You have a full range of anger and hate in your Hulk Ultimate body. Just everything you want to do as the Incredible Hulk, you can do in this game. Did you ever have a chance to play this
I've never played this
at
game,
all? Oh man, it is a
but I
once again
understand that this is the
yeah,
video game version of being the Hulk.
it is. It's as close as you can get to it. It's kind of a free roam sandbox. Incredible Hulk game. There are times where if you want to get almost metal style boxing gloves, and I believe there's a video for it here. Yeah, you can grab a car, split it in two, crush them together, and you have metal boxing gloves. And just you reach critical mass. It's just insane. It's really insane. As much as you want to be the Incredible Hulk, you can be in this game of Ultimate Destruction. Fantastic.
But here's my question: if you
Yeah.
punch a person with the same
Oh yeah.
velocity that you punch a tanker truck with, what have you just done to that person? See, watch. There we go. He's beating the guy up with the Same punch he just put two cars on his fist with earlier in the game.
I like to think, as a fan of the Incredible Hulk, he goes a little bit light on the peoples.